One second. Okay. So we were discussing about like how happy you feel now that you chose this path. Like, what has your life, evolved into as a result of this? And I'm very curious who your husband is. A rabbi. Woohoo!
Yeah, I mean, on the happy theme, I think that for me, happiness is about wholeness, and the wholeness that comes through being, being connected to all those levels of self, and all those levels of soul, and all those of then expressing all those levels in the world. And so I'm deeply happy. It's really, and I'm not just saying this to sell something, like it really, there's a depth happiness. It's not the, and I'm all down with happiness of like being on the beach and having a good time. Like that's very important in life, and I embrace that as well. If it's also part of like a larger story of a grounded whole happiness that includes all the levels. And I do believe that, the, the life that we live, and hopefully I'm giving over to my kids and bringing them up this way, will give them a happiness that is much more enduring, healthy, deep, and sustainable and sustaining than just like the surface level happiness. So it's a depth happiness. Yeah.
I love that, because I'm thinking like one of the ideas that's like a lot in the secular world is like so many marriages aren't working out. So many people are, especially now during this whole pandemic, people are so lost. They don't know what to do, but they feel like, God, what are you doing? Like this doesn't make sense, and like they're annoyed a little bit, or they're like, okay, what about I'll just wear my mask and leave me alone? They don't know how to respond to it. So like maybe you have a suggestion of like, if you weren't brought up with God and you brought up with God kind of, like how would you like maybe give your mind a better way of thinking as a result of, the Jewish way of going through this challenging time?
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting as a psychotherapist, because I see unhappy people all day long, and I talk to them, and I see the difference in my clients who believe in God and in my clients who don't.
Wow.
My clients who have God as a resource in their life, and my clients who don't. And it's heartbreaking actually to see the difference, and to see how much easier the hardships are when you feel connected to the divine, and when you have a sense of not just like, oh, God's going to help me, but there's a bigger picture, kind of what we were talking about before. Is like there's a bigger story here than I can see, and there's reason and rhyme behind all of this. It just chills out the system in a very significant way. So anxiety is much more manageable when you can pull on a sense of the divine. God's got this. Let go and let God. Like that in and of itself reduces 70% of the anxiety that you can feel. Just letting go and the ability to let go. So in a way, not believing God is a sign of an anxious mind, because it's an inability to loosen into being held by some, benevolent, loving hand and heart. And so I think that just a belief in God is the most powerful medicine psychologically that we have available to us. And then living a life built upon divine principles and spiritual building blocks also creates a real sense of grounding, and it's health and foundation, that when you don't have like guiding principles, the world, the postmodern world is a very confusing place where what's right and what's wrong, and it can be very confusing. So it's very helpful and grounding and soothing to have a sense of that there's guiding principles here, not to go into fundamentalist extremist thoughts where you have to rely on some external voice or structure or authority. I'm not saying that. I'm saying finding the guiding principles that are ancient and sort of beyond time and timeless can be a really it can be a soothing and direction in life that's a medicine like none other.
Wow. I have something very interesting to say. I actually saw your Facebook page of your son's bar mitzvah, and it looked so special. So I want to ask you, maybe you can just say in closing, like, how have your children been uplifted in this life that they're living? I mean, your son's bar mitzvah looked like it was so much fun and everyone was having such a great time and you were commenting beautiful ideas to give everyone strength. How would you say like your children are, able to be more in the world in a better way as a result of you choosing this life that you chose?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I have a girl who just turned 13. And so she's starting to be interested in how she looks and all. When I think about what was going on for me at 13, I mean, in my secular society, it was a train wreck already by 13. It was already the beginnings of a train wreck. And I think that a lot of like what I did experience as a teenager in America is what also led me to this lifestyle, because I was just, it was so out of control. It was so not, grounded in those guiding principles. And I so deeply wanted something different for my children. I think that's also a big reason why, there's all the spiritual stuff that brought me into Judaism. But I think also a big piece was like really wanting something different for my kids than what I had. And so it's really very gratifying for me to watch my daughter where she doesn't have crushes on boys, and which is fine if she does, but that's not the focus of her life the way it
Wow.
was for me, at this
Right.
age. And it's a different focus, and she's, she still has fun, and my kids are still enjoy themselves, and are expressive, but it's done in a it's a less externalized value. Like her value of herself is not based on how she looks in the same way that
What?
mine was. And so that's a big relief that I'm experiencing and seeing and
Yes.
hoping for my kids, is that they know that it's not about the externals, it's about the internals. That's my hope. Yeah.
And your children in general, like, do they feel more closer to God as a result of you being so connected to God?
Yeah, I think that they hear my stories, and they're like, whoa. But they also have been working on their dreams, and they also get messages in their dreams, and they take on the practices and the pieces that resonate with them. And really, it really depends on what they are drawn to. But so one of my daughters is really into dreams, and one of my daughters is really into making challah every week for the family and praying for the sick people, and one of my kids is, they all have their own thing that they connect with in terms of their spiritual practice.
Wow. And was your husband always religious, or he also had like a little bit of a journey?
Oh, he also has a crazy story.
Really?
My husband had, like, at one point he had hair that, like, he would like spray up like this high and spray it with like 5 different colors and wear mascara. And he was in a Christian rock band called A Tale of Trinity. He was in a Christian rock band, and he has his own wild, crazy story. Again, he was also, into spirituality and into meditation and meditating, and then thank God found Jewish meditation, and like that's really what opened him up to now becoming an Orthodox rabbi and living in Israel and leading this incredible lifestyle. So we feel very blessed, that we can connect to each other on our backgrounds, that like we do share all that, and that that we found our way here. It's a bit of a miracle. So
So
we
your
feel,
husband, your
very.
husband, I just understand your husband was brought up more Christian, and then he became,
He was brought up, I mean, he was a
Reformed.
reformed Jew,
Mm-hmm.
but he just hung out. It didn't mean anything to him. He went maybe once a year to the synagogue, maybe, but he hung out with a lot of Christian guys, and that was the scene there. So yeah, he has his own wonderful tale. He's also a therapist, and works with people. And so we both, we run this thing called the Shalev Center for Jewish personal growth. We bring together Torah and psychology, and we do therapy sessions, and we do online workshops. And so that's what kind of we spend our days doing.
Healing the world.
Trying,
That's
trying.
incredible. Wow,
Yeah.
Chaya. So let me ask you, like, just because you spoke about dreams so much, could you just give us like a little tip of somebody, like people are like, oh, what does that mean? Like, how can you, like, let's say, have a cool dream? Like, before you go to sleep at night, just, it's a cool idea. It's like something different than the typical. How can you have a cool dream?
All you have to do
Yeah.
is breathe before you go to bed,
Mm-hmm.
meditate, focus on your breathing, do, like I said, the Shema, connect to oneness, and set an intention. You say to yourself, tonight I fly. If you want to have a flying dream where you fly, you say, tonight I fly. And if you do this for a week straight every night, I would say 80% chances are you will have a flying dream within a week. Just setting the intention, that's all it takes, my friends. It's so ridiculously, shamefully easy how to do this. All you do is set the intention. If you want to like juice it up a little bit more, you write it out. Tonight I fly. You
What
could
about if you
juice
want
it
to
up even
dream
more
and you
by,
want to live that life? What if you want
yeah,
to dream it and then actually have a life that's meaning? Like, let's say, for example, you're saying intention. Like, let's say, for example, I want to be able to have a more meaningful life. So you put the same idea for sleeping. It could also be for living, right? So you could say, in my intention, I want to imagine myself more happy, more content, connected to better people. And just by bringing that intention, you can also bring that into your life.
absolutely, absolutely. The power of the unconscious. Yeah. What I like about dreams is that you get to see it really tangibly, really fast.
Really? I'm
Because
so
you said
excited.
intention like that, like I want to be happy. Like, yeah, it's a little amorphous, you know. Like, but with the dream, if you have like tonight I fly, that's pretty specific, and then you get it, you know, and then it feels really gratifying to then see the quick results.
And then you write it down. That's the thing that you write it
And
down
then when
so
you
that
wake
you,
up in the morning, right? And then you have for this really to work, you really should write down every morning. Have a pen and paper by your bed or a dream journal, and where you write down your dreams, because it's really talking to your unconscious and letting your unconscious know that it has your respect. You respect it enough to write down what it says to you that you can remember every morning. So I do that every morning. I write down my dreams. It drives my
really.
husband crazy. It drives my husband crazy. He's like, "Come on, we got stuff to do." I'm like, "No, this I'm doing." So it'll help if you write down your dreams.
Wait, so tell me,
Also,
what was your last coolest dream that you had? Because it just feels so fun to like even have something. Because
yeah.
people love dreams. It's like a fun thing to think about. It's like very out of the box. And if you can start having dreams, it's so cool. So like, what was your last cool intention and that you dreamt about it?
Yeah.
Just for
I
fun.
had a flying dream. I said, tonight I fly. And it didn't actually happen that night, but like a couple of nights later, I had a beautiful flying dream where I was free flying around and adventuring about, and it was wonderful. Yeah.
Wait, what do you
It's
mean? Like you
really,
were flying on a cloud, or you were flying like by yourself? How are you flying?
no, flying just in my body, flying.
Your body just flew through the air.
Hiya, Sarah, you've never had a flying dream?
No.
Okay, work on this.
No.
Work on this tonight. Set the intention. It's an amazing experience being able to fly. It's so fun.
Oh my God. Okay,
Just
we're gonna
set
have
the
to.
intention for it, and it'll happen. I have a million other techniques, but there's other ways to do it. But it really just takes wanting it and setting a conscious intention.
Whoa. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. So let's say people want to find you and get a hold of you. How can we find you? How can we get a hold of you so people can, get to know you better? A woman that they never heard of and all of a sudden has these like wild ideas that people would love to learn about. How can we
I
find
mean,
you?
Facebook is a great way. I put out a lot of fun content on Facebook.
Your
And
name is Chaya
Chaya
Lester on Facebook, just plain Chaya Lester.
Chaya Kaplan Lester on Facebook. But and then I have a website, chayalester.com, chayalester.com. And my husband and I, we run the Shalev Center. So Shalev Center, we have a website for that as well. Whatever, you put in Chaya Lester, Google me. It's so easy these days.
If we put Chaya Lester in, we'll find out all the information and it'll just direct
Yeah,
us here, there. Wow,
yeah,
that's so exciting. So
yeah,
just like as we say goodnight to you, maybe we'll get your husband another night if he wants to share, because all
yeah.
these stories are so inspiring. As we say goodnight to you, like what would you say for people who are trying to, find their way? Like what ideas you have? Let's say, can you give us like, let's say how you saw God in your life with some challenge that came up and how you felt him pulling you through this, not in dream time, but in real time.
Mhm. Yeah. Hmm.
So many, I know.
So many,
There's
right?
so
So many.
many.
I mean, for me, I just kind of have a constant um, relationship, and kind of like, how you just like, if you have a problem, you just call your mom. Like, I feel like I call my mom. Like I call my I feel like I have just a constant conversation going on. with God that really brings me a lot of strength when things are hard. Just praying as I'm walking through my day. That's
In your
my
own
biggest one. Is
words.
just being a living prayer
Wow. And so just tell us, like, how did you see, let's say when
in
you
your
prayed for
own
something, you saw
words.
it come true? Like, how did
In
you
your
see,
own
give us a
words.
sample? Yeah, in your own words. But let's say, give us a sample of, like, let's say when you prayed for something that was challenging and you just felt God coming around in ways that you didn't expect, or something cool, like, came together. Even
Mm,
finding your husband, that must have been a wild story.
right, right, right.
Can you share that?
Um, I'm just like, it's not really coming to me right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have to wait on that one, I guess.
I'm saying, let's say finding your husband, was that like a simple task to find him, or like,
Right. Um, I will just say maybe this one little piece about finding my husband and dreams was that I was I had a dream as I was starting to date my husband, and then but I wasn't really sure if he was the one. I didn't know, and I had a dream where I was like running and running, like looking all around to find my husband. I was running like mad, and all of a sudden a voice came to me in the dream that said, "Stop running, just stop." And I stopped, and then he came to me.
in
And
the
that
dream?
was such an important, yeah. And that was such an important reframe for me in terms of like how we go about getting that which we want, or how we go about wanting, finding your soulmate or whatever the relationship, that there's sometimes a frantic energy of like, I have to run and I have to find. But then there's something that really all the more powerful when we sort of stop and just allow things to settle and to know that I don't have to work myself crazy. God's got this, and I can calm myself and I can receive. So it's maybe making that shift from a place of frantically chasing after what I'm wanting to stopping and quieting myself and quieting the mind and breathing, and then allowing to receive that which I'm wanting.
Wow, that's
That would be my
super cool. But one second,
takeaway.
your husband came to you in a dream, but you knew that it was him, meaning like you knew him from before.
In the dream, I didn't know who it was, but I just know that when I stopped in the dream, then my soulmate found me, and he was behind me. He was actually. I needed to slow down and let him catch up with me, and let myself receive what I needed.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
so beautiful. So the last thing I want to share with you is very, very cool. Is this past week I had an interview with 4 guys on Skype, and they were each sharing their story. And one guy said something that like really blew my mind. He said before he found God, he said his life was like a grain of sand compared to what he has now.
Wow, beautiful.
And he said he feels like his life has become so rich that he can't even compare, like not even a crumb of what was to what is now. Do you feel
Yeah,
kind of in that, like what was to what's now?
yeah, absolutely. Like in terms of the depth and fullness of what life is. Yeah,
Like grain of
that's
sand
beautiful.
doesn't compare to
Yeah,
like what you got now.
right. It's a beautiful image.
And you're helping
Yeah.
so many people. Like just show us like what are you doing now in the world, like not just as a job, but like in the world what you're doing, like how much we need Chaya to come back to Judaism, because look what you're doing now in the world. So can you tell us how you got to this Geula event and like you did something so huge in the world?
Oh, the Gola event. Oh man, that's another crazy story. Okay, we have to end in 3 minutes, but let me tell
Yes,
you this really quick
this is
story.
it, you got
Okay,
it.
this is the last one. This is the last crazy dream story, which was I had a dream like 3 years ago that there was a man sitting by. It was in the old city, and a man in this building sitting behind a beautiful wooden desk, and a big rabbi with a big beard and a big hat, and he calls me and he says, "I want to hire you for the job of welcoming and connecting women to God at the Western Wall." And I'm like, "Wow, great gig! Yeah, I'm down," And that was the dream. And then shortly thereafter, I got a job. I got hired for a job. It was like my dream job, working with bringing hundreds and hundreds of women to visit Israel and taking them on these spiritual journeys in Israel. And all of a sudden, I had this mega job that I was like so excited about. And I was like, wow, I guess that's what the dream was about, because I got the job right after it. And then once I was doing that job, I had another dream. And in this second dream, same rabbi, same desk, same office. And he says, I'm sorry, but you're on probation. You can't do the work anymore. And I'm like, oh, why not? And he says, because you're too spiritual. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like upset in the dream, and I wake up, and within a week I get fired from my dream job. Fired because I was too spiritual. I have a third dream about a year later. In this dream, same rabbi, same desk, same office. This time I'm like, oh man, I don't know if I want to, if I want another job with this guy. But he says, okay, I have another job for you. And it starts on February, I think it was February 2nd or February 4th. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this because I got really burned with the last one. It felt horrible to get fired. I hated it. It was such a bad experience. And I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. An angel came to me in the left side and said, say yes. It'll be fine. Say yes. So I'm like, okay. And I say, okay, I'll do it. And sure enough, I wake up, and then come February 2nd, I'm on a phone call with Hannah Rose Cohen, who was the woman who was organizing the Geula gathering. And she's like, hi, I want you to lead this gathering. And I'm like, oh man, I don't really want to. I don't have the time. But I had these dreams. So I guess I'm saying yes. And I did it.
And you did an incredible job.
And it was such an amazing, wonderful gift. It was such a great experience. But I would not have done it, actually, if I hadn't had that dream.
Wow. That is incredible, Chaya. My God. I've never heard dream stories like this. But it's exciting to tell me you can do it too, Punchinello, funny fellow. That's the good part. Like, you could, like, only she could have them. Like, I could have dreams about my life if I really want.
You are having them. They are already happening. You just don't remember them.
Just don't remember them. You have to have the intention beforehand.
And write them down. That's all.
This was such an incredible experience.
This was so fun.
Thank you. This was so fun. And I'm so grateful that we got this special opportunity with you. And I can't wait to learn more about you and get to join in all your cool stuff. And Hashem shall be able to help many, many people and show people that this is the road that will just bring you the greatest inner peace, inner happiness, and inner joy. And if you take a step at a time, you will see that it will see. Just one last question. When did you start your journey that you decided to change? Like, we started a little older, not like so young, right?
I went on the March of the Living at like 17.
17, but you started your journey like when you were a little older or around that timing?
No, I mean, in college. I was in college. That was like over 20 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, so meaning like everyone still has time to go for it.
Yeah. I mean, my husband started much later in life, but you still have time. It's never too late. God, it's never too late to discover your soul.
Wow. Thank you so much. So maybe you'll ask him if he'll be willing another night to talk to share with us his exciting story. We'll be able to, help the world and bring more and more light. And Hashem shall that all your children just follow in your path and give you so much nachon, able to help everybody that comes your way. It should just keep spreading so much light and joy to everybody. Thank you so much. Awesome.
Thank you. Blessings in all your holy work, my friend. Thank you so much for bringing me in. I really appreciate it.
Yes, this is so fun. Thanks a million. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night. Thanks a million.